What's up, guys? Today we're talking about beginner's guide to deadlifting. So maybe you're coming back from an injury, maybe you're just starting out. You don't need to grab a straight bar right away. So we're going to give you some options for some people that are kind of generally fit. Maybe they were former athletes, stuff like that. Maybe some people are a little bit bigger. They may have trouble getting up and down from the floor. But when it comes to deadlifting, a lot of times with squatting, it's going to primarily work more of like the legs, quads, glutes, hamstrings. You're going to have to stabilize, using your core and things like that. And the deadlift's going to work more of your lower back, a little bit more hamstring, a little bit more posterior chain dominant. The biggest difference between a squat and a deadlift is going to be kind of maximal hip bend, and deadlift this would be hinge variation. So things that work more the posterior, it's going to be minimal knee bend and more maximal hip bend, whereas a good deep squat, we're going to have a lot of range of motion at the ankle, so it's going to be a lot of knee bend with some hip bend too, okay? And the more upright I am, the more the more my knees come forward, the more it's going to kind of work my quads in general, okay? There's going to be some other things depending on where the load is and things like that that are going to come into play. So when it comes to the deadlift, the first thing that we want to be able to do is just learn how to hinge effectively. If you are able to get down on the ground, a really good way just to kind of feel your glutes and hamstrings, just a regular glute bridge. So let's just kind of go through that quick. Let's lie down your back. So this is not going to really directly help you learn the deadlift per se, but it's going to allow you to learn how to use those muscles for a good lockout and things like that. So we're going to start with the knees bent and feet on the floor. So we want to try and move just from the hips. So I'm just going to instruct Otis to drive his heels down and bring his butt up. A little bit higher. So what I want to try and do is have his shoulders, hips, and knees form a straight line while keeping a good neutral spine. So his pelvis and his rib cage is stacked. It's not overarching his back. So this would be like what a deadlift lockout would feel like. Now, if you have trouble getting up and down from the floor, we're going to show you some different variations for if you're really bigger, if you're really overweight. But this is a really great place to start. We can progress the movement by elevating his shoulders, have a little bit more range of motion. We can do single leg versions and you can come back down. We can start to add a weight, okay? You can put a weight on a dumbbell on his body, you can hold it, hold the weight with your hands, drive the hips up, and then come back up, come back down, excuse me, drive them up. So we're looking to squeeze the glutes, we're looking on, this is hip extension, and we're loading it through the body. Good, come back down, and I'll take that weight from you. For those of you that maybe, you can stand up, have trouble getting up and down from the floor, that's where I would start people, but if you can't do that, that's fine. We're just going to do a bodyweight hinge. And we're going to face this way. So when we do a hinge, okay, again, we have maximal hip bend, minimal knee bend. So you can just practice with bodyweight to start, and I'm going to show you how to do what's called a belly swing, and that would be the next level up. So we're going to have a soft bend in the knees, so they're not straight, not completely bent, just unlocked. And we're going to push our butt back to the wall, pull our chest up, neck neutral, so look down, hold, hips back more, hold. So right now Otis is in a pretty good hinge position. He's got a neutral spine, his hips are back, feel it stretch your hamstrings. Good, now stand up, squeeze your butt. Good, let's do that again. So as our hips are going to bend as we reach forward, and come up, again, up, a little less knee bend. Sit back, hold, that's a good one. Hips forward. So you want to think your hips are like a pendulum. Hips swing back, hips swing forward. So hips come back, Otis, and forward. Good. So it's going to feel like a deadlift lockout. So this would be the glute bridge with your body weight, or the bodyweight hinge would be kind of level 1. Level 2 could be loading the glute bridge with a dumbbell, or this is called a belly swing. So I'll show you quick what it is. We're going to hold it here. We're going to keep our abs tight. We're going to have our knees soft. Hips come back. Hips come forward. So it's just kind of like almost like an RDL kind of motion, but just with one dumbbell. Shoulders back. Now the key here is now knees are soft. Don't bend your knees. You're not allowed to bend your knees anymore. Now push your butt back as far as you can while keeping your chest up. Hold. And hips come forward. Squeeze again. Knees soft. Hips come back. Now, depending on your hamstring flexibility, it's going to limit your range of motion. Now, hips come up, Once your butt stops moving backwards, you stop, because otherwise I'm just going to be bending my spine. So once my hips stop moving backwards, you stop, okay? Let's do that again. And hips come forward. Excellent. So that would be a good level 2 progression. So we're starting to level 1, doing a bodyweight hinge, level 2, belly swing with the dumbbell. And you can put that down. If you do have access to kettlebells, I like learning a kettlebell sumo deadlift. Is a really good way to learn like how to deadlift from the floor. Because it's good, these are competition kettlebells, so it's going to be the same height every time. If you don't have kettlebells, you can put some dumbbells on boxes and things like that. You can start to bend at the waist, and then the difference is now we're going to start to add the lower body and the quads involved a little bit more. And you're going to pull your chest up, just like you would a regular sumo deadlift. And we're going to drive with their legs, finish with their hips. You could do these like a regular deadlift, or you could do these stiff-legged and really work the hamstrings. Both would be good, but if you're trying to learn how to deadlift, pulling your chest up and then dropping up. Hips come back, knees are bent. And I can do these stiff-legged as well. Chest is tall, hips come back, and squeeze. You can also do these with a conventional stance. So hips come back, drive the knees forward a little bit, stand up, hips come back, and again I can do these stiff-legged as well. So if you don't have kettlebells, we could just pick up, it would be the same thing with a dumbbell. Let's pick these guys up. Start from the top. We can just do a regular RDL. You can do these with a kettlebell or a dumbbell. So now we're going to slide them down our thighs, chest up, and an arch here a little bit more. So this would be a little bit harder, less knee bend, more hip bend. So less knee bend, more hip bend. And up. You can stop a little short again. So once his hips stop moving, we're going to instruct him to come up. So a little bit hard to control, right? Let's do one more. And come up. Good. Let's put him back down. Nice job. So just to recap, for when you're progressing to the deadlift, you do a bodyweight hinge or glute bridge for level 1 if you're able to get down on the floor. Level 2, add some weight. Dumbbell belly swing or dumbbell glute bridge on the floor. And then you can progress to a kettlebell deadlift or a dumbbell RDL. So that would be more of a full range of motion. So again, start unloaded, progress to loaded, start with a short range of motion, and progress to a longer range of motion. So these are just some general guidelines for learning how to deadlift, and then eventually you can kind of get to a barbell. I would start with like a rack pull, and you can progress your way down to the floor. Especially for bigger people, a lot of times you might not have a lot of flexibility, you might have some tightness, like Otis has some tightness. So progressing, doing a shorter range of motion, make sure your movement is down first. You're really learning to engage the glutes and the hamstrings, so you're not using your lower back to extend too much, finishing tall and tight. These are some really good general tips for the deadlift. I know you have a really big deadlift, but I know you also do a lot of the lower body accessories. So what are some tips that you have when you're trying to build up your deadlift and kind of get to the point where you're lifting the bar?
Well, I learned how to, like you said, brace my core. It definitely helped a lot. When I learned how to load the bar, that helped so much. Because before I didn't know how to load the bar, so I would just grip and just try to rip it off the floor, and I would lose my tension.
So learn to create tension, learning to get in a good position from the start. So all these exercises are going to help you kind of learn the proper lockout position, learn to kind of build some tension in the bottom and keep that core engaged and keep that neutral spine as we're lifting up. So really good drills if you're kind of progressing into the deadlift. Now again, these are beginner lifts, but if you're coming off a layover, you're coming off an injury, this is a great place to start if you're just kind of getting back into deadlifting or if you're just starting out. So if you guys like the video, please subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.